Hello and welcome to L&D Done Right, presented to you by CD2 Learning. Just repeating what I just said on the intro, but really excited to have you here. As you know, I am your host, Gil Williams. I am always joined by guests who are way more knowledgeable than I am in all things L&D. We love bringing in the experts so that we can share their experiences, their stories, and their great ideas with everyone that listens to this podcast. Today, I have an amazing guest who's got wonderful experience that she's going to chat with us about today is Diana Slack. Diana, say hello to everyone.
Hello and hi, Gil. Thank you for having me on. I'm excited to dive into all things L&D. Let's do it.
All things L&D. It's L&D done right, baby. We got to make sure that we're telling everyone how to do this thing the correct way. And no better person than obviously the guests I've spoken with so far, but obviously you. I really enjoyed our initial conversations that we've had and just kind of learning from each other. Like me, you're not historically native to the L&D space. This was grown into this. So before we get into all things strategies and where you see the market going, let's talk about you. Like, how did you fall into this space? Like, where did you come from? What drives you? And like, just tell everyone a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, well, first, thank you for having me on, Gil. I so
Yeah.
appreciate just the opportunity to chat with you and with your audience at L&D Done Right. A little bit about me, I guess. I'm kind of a homegrown learning and development professional. You know, in our past conversations, we chat a little bit about, I started my career in CPG, so worked in beverage sales for Coca-Cola, and currently I work for Southern Glazers Wine and Spirits, the largest distributor of wine and spirits in North America. So I was super fortunate. Whoop, whoop. Yeah, a little wine and spirits action happening, right? So I was super fortunate to just kind of get started right in sales and then really grow and keep wanting to like level up the ability to add impact to the business and help others. That's really what I've been passionate about. So I really just grew my career from sales into training. And now here I am as a talent development program manager. And I get to work with my company's IT team, with our HR team, and help build some really great, impactful programs I'm really excited about.
Yeah, I think that what you mentioned, you started in sales like me, right? And I've stayed in that realm and been able to now move into helping nurture people as well, which is fantastic. It's actually probably the first time in my career where I'm actually like, I love what I do because right. I've always enjoyed sales because I'm just a competitor by nature. But at the end of the day, this is the first time that I get to combine sort of like self-passion with what I do. And that's by the product that I get to tell, companies about, but also I get to help the sales reps that I work with just grow in their careers, both personally in those careers as who they are as a professional, but also in their success rates of what they do. It's really pretty cool. And that, from what you were telling me, is like exactly what you just grasped onto, right? Is that it's not uncommon to feel the pressure of how do I do this? Right?
Yes,
How do I
yes.
get from A to B or Z? It's so natural. Tell us a little bit about how you gravitated towards that in your life.
Yeah, well, you hit right on it with when it comes to sales, and just a whole secret here, you never take your sales hat off. When you start in sales, the tools and the techniques you learn about creating win-wins,
Yeah.
building those partnerships, providing solutions, and getting that excitement, that doesn't go away when you move into learning and development. You just get to work with new customers. But I think the key to your point, Gil, is really about the alignment, is how do you really create that alignment between, what your customers need, whether that's internal learners or employees, and what the business needs, and really just kind of creating that synergy between those two different objectives and making it fun and simplifying that process. It's so much of learning can be a mystery, especially when it comes to how to navigate growing your skills or growing your career in an organization, that I think that our role, and something that I'm super passionate about, is really demystifying some of those murky processes and simplifying some things that, shouldn't be so complicated, I think, right?
Oh, absolutely. And you really kind of hit something on the head there. It's too murky, right? It's a mystery to people where it shouldn't be. And I was telling you a little bit, and I'm sure everyone's getting tired of my stories throughout these podcasts, but I didn't ever really know what I was going to do or what I wanted to do, right? But I knew I wanted to be great at it.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to be successful. Had no clue what that meant, but I knew that I saw people and I admired who they were, what they did. And so what just absolutely drove me to stress and anxiety as a young professional and a young kid was, okay, I know what I want to do, but how do you do it? How do you get there?
Mm-hmm.
And so even it's not even just the act of navigating through while you're in it that's a challenge. It's actually getting started. That's the mystery. And I think that that's like for me the biggest hurdle that I love hearing stories about. And I think that it's our jobs in this space is to help clear the way for just the
Mm-hmm.
starting line, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let's create no mystery and saying, here you go. Like an environment where you can ask questions and know who to talk to and not feel the pressure of, am I annoying these people with asking these questions, right?
Yeah.
That's where for me where it started is like I don't even know how to get started, but you find your way and you do it. And I love what I do is like clearing that road for people, right?
Absolutely. I think, it's all about transparency around what are the options that are available with my career path. I said I started in sales, but I didn't know what other opportunities there might be beyond just the traditional ladder,
Sure.
sales manager, maybe go up into a VP someday. But it was so much of a mystery as to the different roles that might be available outside of a traditional sales role. So actually one of the projects that I'm most proud of that I've been working with my team on is creating a skills academy and
Oh,
building out career paths. So one thing that we put together for our entire ETP team, which is our company's IT tech team, is career paths. So they can go online onto our Skills Academy website that's just for the employees, and they can look up and see the available paths that they can go through. And they can even click in to get more information. So it just opens up the transparency around where people can go to grow their careers within organizations. So it's something that I'm really passionate about, helping people find their path, find their passions, and find new ways to, grow within organizations.
oh, I love that. Um, what I think this is a fantastic segue into a question I wanted to ask you about. Yeah, well done, well done.
Did we practice
Was
that?
yeah, exactly. Cue segue. No, good job. Yeah, good job. Where pathways is huge. We've at CD2 have recognized that we have to be able to make creating those pathways easier for our clients, right? Because that's the big challenge is like, okay, I know I want to do it, but how?
Mm-hmm.
Where we've also been exploring is, okay, well, it's great to have career pathways, but it also needs to have an individualized sort of feel and feature to it, right? And making that specific to that person. So it's not just like, hey, I'm going to push you down this path and hopefully you fit. How do you feel that personalization fits into pathway and career pathing in your structure and strategies?
I'm so glad you asked that question, Gil, because that is actually something that we've built in as part of our Skills Academy strategy. If it starts with the career path, where could you go? What possibilities there might be? You're absolutely right. What is the more targeted development path for me? How do we help people really connect the dots individually with where they can grow on different specific roles? So one of the things that we did is we created learning journeys. I
Yeah.
partnered with a lot of subject matter experts within our IT team, our HR team, our talent management team, and we curated skills. We curated a list of recommended courses from all of our internal subject matter experts. We really personalized it and made it targeted to our audience, and we created those directly linked to those available career paths. So it really is a process of connecting the dots from where do you want to go. Here's some skills that you can learn more about to level up and get to where you want to go. And then here's some different learning that you can go and grow those skills with. So it's really just laying out that path and then giving people the access to grab those tools and resources when and where they need it.
Are you tying in competencies to those like key competencies or performance analysis to to that data as well as you're prescribing?
Absolutely, absolutely. So within, our teams, of course, we have behavioral competencies, leadership skills that are foundational to all of our employees at Southern Glazers. So those are critical as part of the development path. But within our technology team, as you might imagine, there's a lot of additional skills and technologies that different departments and different functions might need to learn. So we've done both. We've added in those competencies that are more behavioral driven, and we've also added in those functional and technical skills, and then told people kind of what is the desired, what does it look like to be successful here? So then they know where they need to stretch and also where they might already be really strong. And then that's exactly what we're looking for.
That's awesome. I think what's really cool is when organizations really dig into the data sides of things of like where, yes, I can conceptually tell you where your gaps probably are based on where you are in your career. But how do we actually get into the true competency or performance-based data down to that specific individual and then tailor the experience into it? But what I love about that is it opens the door and being able to say, okay, well, here's what you're really good at and where you're learning and developing and progressing in. It helps not only build that career path for that specific person potentially on that one pathway, but it opens the door saying, hey, actually the business has a need here too. What's your thought on pivoting towards this and giving you an opportunity for growth? Right. Because it's like, oh, you talk about IT and tech, right? You've got, I'm not even going to try and talk about all the different things that those people know. I don't even know. Like developers, you got the IT security, shared services, cybersecurity, like there's different functions in each, but there's crossover too. And so I love when you can start to tie those crossovers and help you attain business goals through knowing the competencies, through knowing the development plans as well.
Absolutely. And a critical piece to that is the manager's involvement, at the organizational level, as a talent development program manager, I am very close with the business objectives and I meet very closely with the business leaders. But we also have to make sure that we're really focused on the learner needs, that employee. Like we can design these great career paths, we can design, beautiful learning journeys, but if it's not going to be relevant or effective for that individual employee to pick up that tool and use it to go pursue their dreams and grow their skills, then it was a waste of time. So one thing that we've really, really focused on is really enabling the managers of those individual contributors to take these tools and resources and help coach their teams on how to use these. And on the measurement piece, on the analytics piece, I'm right there with you too. Like, how do we really measure if someone is going after some of those courses or growing their skills in a way that's going to be beneficial and aligned with our organizational strategy? It's that manager that really is connecting. Okay. Where does that employee's strengths go? Where does the organization need people? Let's have those career coaching conversations and use all of these great tools that we have available to us to help carve out an individual development plan for you. And that's really something that we want to do more is we've got the tools, we've got the resources. How do we help create something that's custom for you, the individual learner?
Oh, so you're in your strategies, it all kind of pinnacles at the manager driving, like believing in that this is important for the business and sharing that belief to their employees too, right? Is that what I'm hearing you say? There's an organization we partner with that they did the same exact data analysis. What they found is that to get people to engage and participate and actually take learning serious, it starts with that manager is often the key starting point, and then they're influencers within an organization aren't always title based, right? Is getting those two people involved and bought in and sharing the importance of learning and development. That's how you truly drive change and engagement within these strategies, which then you'll start to get those benefits at the end of the day. I love that.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, research has shown that, the biggest influence on someone's, engagement and learning is their manager. Does their manager care? Are they following up? And that's something even outside of the Skills Academy that we build into our programs is those manager checkpoints at the beginning, at the middle, and then at the very end to make sure it's pulling through when people leave the training workshop and they get back out into the business and they need to go and perform.
Yeah. I mean, we love we love that sort of aspect. And frankly, I believe that it's necessary. And so one of the things that we built into our technology is one of the things exactly that, right? Is that we have to drive engagement between an employee and the manager or subject matter expert or influencer, whatever it is. And so having the workflows, the peer-to-peer interactions, right? A checkpoint of, hey, I'm going to submit this and gather feedback from my manager before I can move on. Like, how do we enable our clients and the companies to drive that sort of engagement so that you don't feel siloed and alone? I mean, in this world of the COVID world, right? The post-COVID where everyone's at home, hopefully more people are starting to get in person, you know. But when a lot of workforces are remote, is you still have to drive human interaction. We need it. We're human. And so how do you do that in learning? It's great to hear that you guys are seeing that, and it's a fundamental part of your strategy over there at Southern Wine and Glazers.
Yeah, absolutely. Leadership development, employees drive their career, but they need to be supported by their manager and then aligned with the organization support too. So
absolutely. So tell me, in your strategy, when you're like, where does technology kind of fit within your like, how important is it to an overall learning development strategy for an organization of your size? Or where do you think that organizations, when they're maturing, should start to look at different technologies as well?
That's a great question. Well, I've been fortunate enough for the last 3 years to be working specifically with my company's tech team. So coming from a world of sales and then kind of putting on a new hat of tech, I've had to learn a lot of new technology, and I'm still learning a lot as I go. But I would say on the organizational level, one of the great things that Southern Glazers Wine and Spirits did is they were really at the forefront of digital acceleration and digital adoption. They introduced and we came up with our own SG Proof built on the Salesforce platform. We have an e-commerce site as well. So when it comes to digital and meeting our customers to where they are, we were ahead of the game, which really just put a lot of, I would say, emphasis on building up the digital acceleration of our technology team. And now with our Salesforce, getting them trained up on using these tools and technologies as well, I think there's a lot of opportunity for our technical team and our sales teams to kind of keep merging more and integrating more of their workflows together. So it's definitely something that we're exploring. But the world of tech is not going anywhere. It's going to keep merging with all of our lives for sure.
Yeah, I mean, learning technology especially, right? I mean, there's in the last 2 years alone, there's been some wild improvements to the learning platform space, right? Of what people are truly expecting. What have you seen in the last few years that has excited you from a learning technology perspective? And what are you looking for that's not here yet?
What has excited me? Honestly, Gil, it's kind of the simple tools that we already have access to that I didn't know how to use or I'm learning how to use in a new way. I've been really impressed lately by a lot of simulations. We've been employing some simulations in our leadership development programs. And at first, I think I was a little, I don't know, maybe skeptical. I'll be honest. I wasn't sure how effective they would be, but seeing them play out in these scenarios, so we did one recently around change management for our leadership development. They went into a simulation. They had to role model out how they would lead a team through change. And we just found that utilizing that technology in our workshop was super effective.
Oh, wow.
Other than that, I would say, what was your other question? What's missing or what?
Yeah, what do you think's missing?
I want ChatGPT AI to pre-write my emails for me in the morning, but that's a personal issue. Gosh, I don't know what's missing. I feel like as soon as I think of something missing, there's already a product that's been created for it. I think there's really no shortage of technology, but it's also the same problem that we have with content. It's how do you find the right tech for the right need, and sorting through all the swamp of everything that's available out there.
So are you of the mind that you shouldn't just have you can't just have one solution. You have to have best in class and to do their things that they're best in class for, right? I think some of the best organizations I've worked with, they understand that you're not going to solve all your problems underneath one roof of tech. You have to have multiple partners, multiple pieces of technology that can do what they're best at that best thing, right? And so that's where I think that the most strategic organizations I've worked with think that same way. But it's kind of this change in mindset, right? Is a lot of organizations do want it under one house. So how do you make it feel like that, but still you got to work with other people, right?
I feel like this is like a vendor management challenge. It's like, how many different platforms do we want to be managing vendor relationships with? But
Exactly.
yeah, I'm with you on that. You know, each technology platform has their specialization. We're currently working with, you know, we love LinkedIn Learning for a lot of their interpersonal and business courses. So we really leverage that platform a lot. But then we
Mhm.
also leverage Pluralsight a lot for our technology team because they have a lot of great access to skill IQs and role IQs. So it really is, you know, finding a blend of different platforms that we can leverage to really, you know, meet our learners where they're at, and then also give the business the objectives that they're looking for as well.
Yeah. So you brought up ChatGPT. Where do you see AI playing in the bigger future focus of all things learning and development?
Other than replacing our jobs? No.
It won't. It's just going to make you more efficient. That's my personal belief is it's not replacing any jobs. It's just going to make people that much more efficient.
Right, absolutely. Well, you know, when I first heard about ChatGPT, I was excited because I jumped into it right away. I started exploring some of the features. On a personal note, I think on an organizational note, when it comes to learning and development, our organization isn't really exploring that specific technology yet,
Sure.
but AI, artificial intelligence, we are looking at so many different, you know, ways to integrate that into our programs. The way
Okay.
I see AI being utilized in L&D for me would be just taking that content swamp that we have and condensing it, chunking it, providing it in different modalities in a way that, like you said, is going to speed up those efficiencies. So you don't have instructional designers spending hours and hours sorting through the content. You can feed it into the AI, they can chunk it for you, and then you can use your intellectual horsepower to really customize it and tailor it to your audience needs.
Absolutely, right? It's doing the grunt work and it's letting you be more strategic with your time, right?
Exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
because that's
Well,
something we don't have any more of, right? No one's giving us more time. So
that's what AI is, right? There we go. You're welcome, ChatGPT. Just selling it for you on L&D done right. Hopefully they share this somewhere.
are you getting a kickback? Are they sending you a
Yeah,
check after this? I'm
exactly.
curious.
Exactly. 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 Well, one of the things that I wanted to definitely hit on for you is a lot of L&D professionals have a really hard time measuring effectiveness, right? The biggest challenge that I hear for a lot of people, especially in this generational shift that we're kind of going through, where leaders now are starting to see that it's important, but there are some laggards in different industries, right? Where, hey, I'm a CEO. I'm having a hard time, you know, giving you the permission to go invest in this. That's a lot of money for not a direct ROI right up front. And so how for you is your organization, you know, measuring success and effectiveness of your programs to help justify and generate an ROI at the other end?
It's so critical. It's such a great question. I mean, when it comes to being a learning and development professional within the organization, you want that credibility so that you need the ROI so that you can keep delivering more programs that are going to have that impact. We're very fortunate to have an amazing people analytics team that we partner closely with to build out those learner feedback surveys and to build out additional tools that we can use and leverage to show the return on investment from our courses, from our workshops, from our resources. We also, you know, create our own real-time feedback. We want to be able to leverage, you know, some of those tech. Earlier I mentioned that, you know, I like to use tools that we already have access to, but use them in ways that are maybe slightly different. One of
Mhm.
my favorite, you know, tools that I like to use to get that feedback in real time and measure effectiveness is leveraging Microsoft Forms
Okay.
to create, you know, surveys, checking in at the beginning of the workshop, just a quick individual learner, you know, self-assessment. How comfortable are you using, you know, these tools as a pre-assessment? And then I'll use the same form, the same QR code again up on the PowerPoint slide at the end to give that real-time feedback within the workshop. So we get that feedback there. And then we also have extended surveys and a lot of analytics done behind the scenes to help buttress that additional data.
Okay. So from a effectiveness standpoint, do you have any, are you able to share any success stories of like, hey, we had this initiative, we implemented this learning strategy and it generated X? Is there anything you can share with us as far as success stories?
Well, I would say one of our recent success stories was an initiative around a whole brain learning, a whole brain thinking assessment program for our ETP team. So it's a big, passionate project that we're really focused on enabling more cognitive diversity within our IT team. So we launched assessments for that program last year, and we measured and tracked the completion of those assessments. We're able to get over 85% of our employees to take that assessment as part of that program. And it wasn't a required assessment. It was just something that we wanted to create that change and create that excitement around it. So that was one of the areas that we were able to really track and measure some of the effectiveness of one of our programs around more inclusivity and diversity in thinking.
Oh, that's amazing. Okay. I love that, because diversity in how you're thinking, where your organization is going, and going through all of those. I mean, it's societal change at the same time, right? And so how do we effectively do that within our organization and drive engagement and show, without just talking at someone, why it's important and the effects that it has on an organization? It's fun to see that was taken on from a learning and development standpoint rather than just like we're all meeting to talk about this standpoint, right?
Well, it was part of it was essentially foundational to the Skills Academy, is really creating a culture that embraces diversity of thought and uses all parts of our brain, right? Especially as, you know, employee populations are spread out and working so remotely. Anything that we can do to gain more self-awareness around how we think and stretch our thinking to meet people more where they are, the better results that we can get together, and we can be more efficient by just creating better understanding. So it really is critical and foundational to everything that we're doing within ETP.
So it's solving for the change of like, hey, we're all widespread, right? With L&D, you're solving for the need to generate culture without being in the same room together. Right. Yeah. I mean, that's essentially what you guys are taking on. And how do we continue to drive culture through learning in whatever subject matter it may be, and make it feel like a community rather than siloed little efforts, especially in your world when you have sales reps, boots on the ground in different geographies. How do you make them feel a part of the team? Right.
Yeah, well, we want to create, you know, that psychological safety in our training workshops and in all of our initiatives that enable people to feel welcome and belonging when they join the organization, when they come in, whether it's an onboarding training, whether it's a sales training, whether it's a technology training. We know people are coming from a variety of different experiences in their lives. When they come together with us, we want to just make sure that we are thinking inclusively and thinking of the different learning styles. And as someone myself who is neurodivergent, I always want to think more holistically as well about the different learning styles and different learning types as I'm building programs.
You mentioned something there with the psychological safety, right? It's enabling people to feel comfortable, right? Which is all about culture and inclusivity. But it also, what people don't realize from a comfortability standpoint, if you do it the right way, it actually makes them feel like they can be confident faster too. They can be confident in what they're doing because they're comfortable behind the scenes, right? But at their core, they're comfortable with who they are, what they're doing, and so they can be confident in acting and performing in their best light, right? And so I love seeing that, and it kind of moves me towards like specific to sales training, right? Is how do you create that psychological safety, or in my words, it's a safe fail environment, right? Where I can go out and test and try and expose myself to my weaknesses and my gaps, but do that in a safe environment that's going to make me better in the long run. And I don't have to feel the pressure of swimming with the sharks and failing at the same time, right? I can actually do that in an environment that is enclosed and get honest feedback from people that matter to me, and feel that way I can be confident when I do go out in the field, right?
Absolutely. And, I think it really does start, by being vulnerable and authentic yourself and letting people know that, hey, I may be coming in here as, your talent development person or your learning and development professional, but I'm learning too. This
Yeah.
experience for me is me learning. So everything that we're doing is all about, creating new neuroplasticity, that growth mindset. Everything is just new experiences. And when you can, enable that safety, that calmness, in a room full of people who are used to being experts and who are used to coming into rooms and having to present as an expert, to give them that permission and to give them that space, that safe space to like, look, we're all going to put our learner hats on. We're taking our expert hats off. We're here to learn. So this is what we're focused on today. And it almost kind of takes you out of your day to day, I'm here to perform. No, today you're here to slow down. You're here to hit the pause button. You're here to think a little bit about your thinking, or you're here to do something a little bit different. It almost takes you back to school a little bit. If you let it, if you allow it, the process to happen, if you park your ego at the door and you really just embrace the learning, there's really nothing that you can't learn.
My favorite leaders and some of the most just savagely like amazing people that I just think are fantastic at what they do, and they're people who I would love to emulate in my life, right? They're all humble at the end of the day. They don't have ego, and they recognize the fact that they are career learners. I think all of us need to remember that and try and emulate that a little bit more, where we are here to learn, period. And that's whether you are a CEO, whether you are an entry-level person. If you stop learning, then what are you doing? And like, what are we here for? If you're just done, then hey, it's probably time to find something else. Right. And I think that any leader, any CEO, the best ones that are out there, they recognize the fact that they are always continuously getting better and learning. And I think more of us who are starting our careers, or more of the people who are just getting started, instead of thinking about how do I get to that, it's going, hey, I'm going to forever be learning. So like, what is the first thing I need to learn and continue to learn, right? And be okay with that.
Yeah. I mean, change is just coming faster and faster. So we don't know what the future is going to hold, but we do know that we need to be adaptable, that we need to be
Absolutely.
adapting that growth mindset and constantly learning new things. So if you can get good at critical thinking, if you can get good at learning, anything that comes your way, you're going to be able to take on.
Yeah.
It gives you more confidence. Just knowing that you can take on those challenges that present themselves in the future. You don't need to know what's coming to know
Nope.
that you can handle it, right?
It's trust in your people, trust in your partners, and have an open mind to continue to develop, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So last question before we get into the fun stuff. If someone's listening out there that they don't know, like they're new into their role as an L&D professional, they're tasked with getting a new or advancing their new strategies, what are the first three things that you'd recommend a new L&D professional start to work on as far as the first three steps in launching a new program?
First three steps. All right. Well, I think number one, if you're brand new, you need to listen. You need to go on a listening tour, go visit with the business leaders, go talk to the different departments, find out, what's working, what's not working, really understand a little bit more about what those gaps might be within the different departments themselves. I might have skipped a step because your first step is obviously looking at what are the business objectives, right? So what is, the main thing that the business is trying to accomplish? And then from there, you want to meet with those business leaders to find out a little bit more about like, what are some of their pain points? What are some of those challenges that they might be having? And then you want to go down even further and start talking to some more employees. So I really think like the best thing that you can do is not rush to trying to come up with a solution, but spend enough time listening to what's currently working, what currently might not be working within the organization before you start, coming up with a plan or strategy with those business leaders on how to solve it.
So in a nutshell, it's identify and collaborate, right?
Yes. Thank you for synthesizing that for me,
No,
Joe.
I just love it because people overcomplicate it. It doesn't have to be everything you just said there that you think that you have to come up with these mysterious things. It's identify what are the goal metrics or what is the goals and outcomes that we're trying to achieve, right? Okay, cool. Now let's go identify the problems that's keeping us from hitting those, and then let's collaborate as a team to come about and do it. And identify and on the processes and trial and error. It's not going to be one big thing. We're going to get it right the first time. We have to continue to identify where our gaps are and continue to collaborate together in pushing this organization forward.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, the first question you have to ask is, what problem are we trying to solve? You know, what is our goal? Like, what are we working towards? You know, and then what are the gaps? You know, what is our current state? What is our desired state? And then our role is, how do we fill out that middle part to bridge that gap?
I think the first, probably most overlooked thing is identifying what the goal outcome is. It's really easy to identify the problems. Identifying that goal outcome is really like, you need to know what metrics you need to hit. Like, that is what I'm solving for. Now, what are the things that I can do to get there? Right.
Exactly.
Perfect. Well, leave us with one fun thought in the L&D space that you just think is going to be the craziest thing you see, or just one funny, goofy thing that you like there in the L&D space.
One fun, goofy thing in the L&D space. Gosh. Well, you know, Gil, I will say I am always a fan of gamification, and I will never get over the fun of quiz shows, game shows, Jeopardy boards. Like, we may embrace all the newest technology out there, but if you give me a PowerPoint with a Jeopardy board on it, I'm going to be on that workshop. I'm super excited for that. So that's my party up there.
There's
Bring
the
in
fun. Make sure you're having fun with it. Yeah, no, I think that's
right? Always have fun.
It is a serious thing we're developing in our careers, but no one wants to sit there and just go through decks and slides. Like, make it fun. Put some games in there, some simulations. Let's enjoy it while we go through.
It's all about emotion. You can't change people unless you can hit them in their emotions.
Hit them right in their feels. I love it. Well, Diana Slack, thank you so much for your time today. This has been L&D Done Right. Thank you so much for joining us. I've had a blast chatting with you today.
It was a pleasure. Thank you so much for having me on.